Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Margarina Eberlein.
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Did you have your first, second, third, fourth, fifth cup of coffee yet? No judgment here. It's my only vice. Well, I'm going to talk to you today about measuring metrics that matter and that make you money. Who likes money? Yeah? All right. That's how we're in this, right? And to help people. All right. So, how do you turn metrics into marketing wins? I'm going to walk you through step by step the methodology that we use at Marketing Boss, our CMO firm, to help law firm owners diagnose where their greatest opportunities are from the top of the funnel all the way through to the sales process and the case sign-up. A little bit about me. Please don't feel obligated to read all this. Listen, I'm just a girl with a passion for empowering law firm owners to stop bleeding money. Who wants to stop bleeding money on marketing that doesn't work? All right, that's what you need to know about me. And I'm a data geek too. And I want to say this is a safe space, so feel free to ask questions. I'm going to go over data, and it might not be very fun at first. I'm going to try to do it so that it is super fun and that you learn new things. Save your questions until the end and make sure that you have a mic in your hand if you do ask a question so that our awesome folks that are listening virtually can also have a chance to hear your question. All right, so first question you want to think about. Are your firm's digital marketing efforts working for you? How do you know, right? Sometimes it feels like digital marketing is like snake oil, right? The marketing, a little bit. Like you see the data, you see the impressions, but you're like, what does all this mean? Has anybody seen something that looks like this? Have your marketing vendors ever shown you something that looks like this? If you've seen this before, bear with me. You might learn some new things that you didn't know. Here's what you need to know about this data. It only tells you half of the story, and I'm going to walk you through what some of these numbers mean. Cost. This is the total amount invested during a given period of time. When you see it on this report, I want you to take into consideration this isn't your only cost, okay? Your cost should also include cost of labor. Let's say this was a Google campaign that you're looking at, and it was running ads that had video. What's the cost of that video for this campaign? You have to account for all those extra costs, okay? But for this purpose and for this exercise, this is the total amount invested during a given period of time. Then you have your clicks. Clicks are great. This means that people are responding to the look and feel and the messaging of your ad. But what do we like more than clicks? Conversions. Conversions are a fancy marketing term for people that took that next action. Now, I want to explain this one because a lot of law firm owners get it wrong, and they invest a lot of money in things that aren't working. A conversion sounds exciting, right? Because your marketing team's going to say, hey, you converted 50 leads, and you're going to be like, oh, wow. How much money is that worth to your firm? We don't know, right? How do we know what a conversion is? For our law firm, our conversion is going to be the actual signed cases. And it's very, very important that, yes, we get excited about marketing conversions, but we really want to compare that with our case signups. Those are the conversions that really count. But again, for purposes of this exercise, this gives you the cost per conversion. What's more exciting than cost per conversion? Cost per case. Right? At the end of the day, that's what brings money through the door. Now, this same formula of looking at visibility, interaction, and conversion can be applied to any digital marketing channel. So I showed you before what it looks like in a Google ad, and this is what it looks like, say, in a YouTube report. Okay? This is just an example report. Let's say that you're running a YouTube campaign, and for that one, your goal is not necessarily conversions. Your goal is to be seen. Those are called impressions. So this is how many times an ad was seen, okay? Video views are how many times a video was viewed, so impressions versus video views, and average cost per view. So if your objective is conversions, you're looking at a report like the previous one. If your objective is to be seen, brand awareness, then you're looking at average cost per view. 3 cents, not bad. But again, how many cases does that get us, okay? So you have to be really clear if you're running a branding campaign for visibility or a lead generation campaign for leads. So in this report example, the reach is the number of people that your ad reached. Now, impressions is how many times your ad was seen. Reach is how many people. There's a difference. If I am one person, I count as one reach. And if I see your ad 10 times, I count as 10 impressions. So don't be freaked out if you see a report where your reach is maybe lower. That's okay, because what you want is you want your ads to reach a lot of people multiple times, especially in digital platforms. This right here is your cost per lead from each campaign that you ran on this supposed Meta example. And your frequency is, on average, how many people saw that ad. Now, I want you to think back to the last time that you bought something online. How many times did you see the ad? How many times did you experience the brand? And on how many marketing channels did you experience that brand before you made your purchase? It's the same thing in the legal space. The same way we buy shoes, okay, and things that we like to buy in our everyday life, that's the same way we buy legal services. We have to be familiar with a brand, which is why I showed you examples of a branding campaign where you want to get seen. And I've shown you now examples on 2 different platforms, both Google and Meta, of lead generation campaigns. They work really well together. But I know what you really want to know, right? How much money did these ads make? Do your ads make, okay? To date myself, this is supposed to be a gif of Jerry Maguire, show me the money, so I'll reenact it for you. Show me the money, show me the money, okay? Here's a nice sheet that you can use. Feel free to replicate this. You want to look month to month at what are you investing, what are people doing in the middle of the funnel. These are your clicks, conversions. You want to know what your cost is per conversion. You do want to monitor that, okay? And you also want to monitor how many leads you're getting, and my favorite that a lot of law firms don't track, wanted. Okay? This happens a lot in certain practice areas, especially immigration, right? Where you run the best ads and you get a lot of leads, but they don't qualify for anything. So they're not really wanted leads. You really want to track that. And then you want to track signed and track cost per signed case. So this is an example of what that data can look like month to month. And you want to always look for a lower cost per signed case over time. Now, is it normal, especially with digital, for your cost per signed case to go down, 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 and all of a sudden it's back up? Yes, because digital marketing relies a lot on algorithms, and algorithms are constantly being adjusted. So if you have a marketing team, make sure that they're adjusting your campaigns continually to keep up with those algorithm changes, and don't freak out if the cost maybe goes up for a little bit. As long as over time you see it trending in the right direction, you're good. It's very normal to have swings, okay? Here are some data points that I want to point out that can be very valuable for you to analyze. So track leads by source so that you know what sources are giving you the most leads. But like I mentioned, don't freak out necessarily about the leads by themselves, but track those qualified leads. If your number of leads is going down, but your qualified leads are going up, that's not so bad. So like in this example, month 1, I have 89 qualified leads. And then month 3, I have 80, but I have the same amount of wanted leads. Not so bad, right? So you still have those opportunity to sell. Now, what about signed cases? The qualified leads that I'm able to sign, that's a very important KPI. So in month 2, I have 100 leads, and I only have 20 wanted leads, but I'm golden because I signed up for 14 cases, okay? And so my cost per case is actually lowest in month 2, when some of those KPIs were a little bit higher. So you have to understand how to analyze this data relative to other data points, not always by itself, okay? And you want to adapt to measure the ROI for your SEO, your social media, and other marketing channels the same exact way. So this table can be used even for billboards, for television ads, except for billboards, instead of clicks, you're going to have visibility. Instead of, the leads and the wanted and the signed, all that is still the same. Instead of conversions, you're going to have like actual people calling your firm. So you can swap out. It's all the same across marketing channels. Do this monthly with every single marketing channel, okay? But like not you, you're busy, okay? We have resources if you want to download the Marketing Boss app, where you can actually download a spreadsheet and it's just fill in the blanks, and it helps you through how to fill out these KPIs. And definitely delegate it to somebody that you trust on your team. So what you want to do is make sure that you're helping your firm build effective lead generation sources. So at the end of the day, you want to have enough marketing channels giving you leads on a consistent basis in a way that you can forecast. How do you forecast? You monitor monthly, and you see when you're getting more leads, more qualified, less qualified, so that you can always dip into different sources and invest accordingly. Now, I want to point out a couple of other things and how to diagnose, okay? What is your risk tolerance when you're investing in marketing? I work a lot with law firms that have CPAs or fractional CFOs, helping them figure this out. If you want to launch an exciting billboard campaign, you are going to really have to have a higher risk tolerance than somebody that maybe is able to just launch a campaign running digital ads to get the phone to ring in 2 days, okay? You need to really understand what is your risk tolerance so that you know what can you afford to invest over time and still manage that risk, because marketing does take time. Okay? Branding channels traditionally like TV, radio, it's not that they don't work, it's that they work over time and they work when you're consistent. So you really want to have a higher risk tolerance to invest in those marketing channels. Digital channels tend to be a lot quicker to give us an ROI. Now, the amount of clicks are going to indicate that people like what they see and how they feel. So if you see a dip in clicks, you want to diagnose, okay, like a doctor. Now you can tell your mom that you're a doctor and a lawyer. You want to diagnose if your clicks are going down. You want to diagnose if you have, number one, a targeting issue, or if you have a messaging issue, or you might even have a technical issue. So those are three places to look if you see that your clicks are going down consistently. Again, take it into consideration. If your clicks are down, but you're getting better, qualified leads, more wanted cases, you might still be golden. Just an idea to diagnose if you see those numbers dip. High conversions are going to indicate that people are very likely to have some sort of urgent need and that they trust you enough. I've seen this many times where maybe a brand new solo law firm decides to invest in digital ads and they have really low conversions at first because no one knows who they are, right? They're new, they're a new name. And if you think about it, especially on Google, when people are searching, there are other competitors that show up right next to you. So you have to be patient if you don't do branding, if you're not on social media, if you're not doing traditional media, if you're not well known, to get really those conversions that you want, even from people that are ready to buy, which are people searching on Google. A good cost per conversion is going to vary by practice area, okay? I get asked this question a lot. Margarita, what's a good cost per conversion or even a good cost per case? It really depends. So personal injury, workers' compensation, those tend to be the more competitive ones. Google specifically runs their pricing based on an auction. Okay, so if you've got Morgan & Morgan in your state, I'm so sorry, your cost to run ads is going to be super expensive because you're in a nuclear arms race with Morgan & Morgan and a bunch of other large firms. So keep that in mind and make sure that you're working with a vendor that's going to give you a competitive analysis so you know on average what these costs for these keywords that you have to go after for your practice area are going to cost you, and they can set proper expectations. Now, does this mean that, and this is just kind of a side note, does this mean that if you have a competitive practice area and you don't have a lot of money that you shouldn't try to advertise? No. The good news is that if there's 1,000 people searching and you only get 10 to your campaign, you still have a shot. Okay, so I try to encourage law firms to just begin, especially when it comes to digital marketing, to just begin with whatever they can do and then go up from there. Again, get some financial advice to make sure that you can afford it over time. All right? Now, lead volume can decline, like I mentioned before, and your case signups can still go up. So monitor the volume of leads, but make sure that you're also monitoring it against the targeting that you're doing and the quality of those leads. If you're not getting people to convert or you're not getting people to actually sign and you have enough wanted, then you may have a sales problem or you may have a messaging problem. So I'll share a story with you. I was once leading a marketing campaign with a criminal attorney, and he, for some reason, was getting a ton of leads from like everything that we were doing, but his team was just not converting. And it just so happened that the vendor made a mistake, and instead of adding terms like public defender, cheap legal defense, as negative keywords, they were actually targeting those words. So it's like, yeah, technically these were people that had a viable case, but the psychology of those people searching was that they were looking for cheap. So it was really hard to overcome the pricing objection. So definitely important to keep in mind. Now, if you have a high number of wanted, but a low number of signups, you may have a sales problem, like I mentioned. Sometimes it's a targeting problem, but I'll be honest, and I work with law firms all over the country, most of the times it's a sales problem or a technical glitch. Another cautionary tale, if you're gonna run any kind of digital campaign, make sure that you have documentation of how those leads are going to come in. Are they going to come in through a phone call, through a form? And make sure that you have documentation on who's responsible for picking up the phone. I know it sounds silly, but if you are running thousands of dollars in Google Ads and the phone is ringing more than 3 times, you've already lost your money. Just go to Las Vegas and do something else with that cash, because it's going to be really hard to get an ROI when you don't have that workflow in your intake. So sales is huge. I often recommend to law firms, don't get aggressive with digital ads because it's super competitive until you have a button-down sales and intake process. And I'm talking about the technology has to be on point, as well as the team has to be trained to sell. Here's a table that you can use. This is a methodology that I created. I'm a data analyst, and I created a methodology called Connect Convert. It's not called Convince Convert, it's called Connect Convert. We really believe that when you align with these KPIs, and these are 7 KPIs that we recommend that you track: greeting, qualifying, empathy, preparation, assurance, personalization, and commitment. And you can actually get a copy of my book on Amazon. It's called Connect Convert, and it explains what each of these are. When you hit these KPIs consistently, if you have a qualified lead, you are very likely to sign up that lead. Now, you see some that are boxed in green. Those are the ones that traditionally, when we diagnose and audit sales and customer service at law firms, that's where law firms struggle the most. Empathy, preparation, making comments like, you called the right place, this is exactly what we do, we can help you. Assuring the customer that you're committed to helping them. And I'm talking about the person on the phone making a comment like, hey, my name's Margarita, I'm so glad you called. I'm assuring the person, I'm reassuring the person. Personalization, Philip, nice to see you. I'm so glad that you're here at this workshop, right? Commitment. Okay, I'm gonna have you write down your appointment date and time. We'll see you at 10:30 on Friday. Those little, that takes seconds. Those little details help with the conversions like you wouldn't believe, and we highly recommend that you have a sales and intake process that incorporates quality customer service that's measurable, and that you're keeping a scorecard of your team. Okay. You also want to use data from client feedback and reviews to boost your firm's online reputation. I honestly believe that more and more every single day, Google My Business is becoming even more important than websites. If you have in your sales process, even or in your customer service process when you close out cases, to request reviews on Google, that can actually help you become more visible over time than almost anything else that you can do, other than paid ads, of course. And it's great. So you want to track other marketing KPIs like this, where you want to invest in things that are going to move the needle when it comes to organic leads. So you want to invest, and maybe you want to invest in an incentive program with your staff. How many of you are offering your staff some sort of incentive for requesting Google reviews? If you're not, you really should right away, because this is super valuable. How many of you are investing in labor, maybe a virtual assistant, to dispute reviews from bots or, your ex that's trying to troll you or whatever you got going on, right? Like, you have to really monitor your Google My Business reviews, because that credibility also helps with visibility online, and you don't necessarily have to pay for it like you would an ad. You want to also track views to your Google My Business profile, phone calls, and all of this, by the way, is available when you open up your Google My Business profile. There's an analytics section that you can click on, and you can just track this monthly. Again, you can have somebody from your team, virtual assistant, this isn't hard to do. Just throw this in a spreadsheet for you or put it in a report so that you're looking at this every single month and seeing improvements in the KPIs that matter most. You also want to track how many reviews you've requested. If you request 0 reviews, how many reviews are you going to get? Exactly. Very easy. So you want to request and you want to track what you and your team are requesting on a monthly basis. And you also want to track how many leads now you're getting from things like Google My Business. Again, wanted sign, cost per sign case. That's another marketing channel that I see a lot of law firms don't even have on their radar. They have their website, they have ads, they have traditional media, but they don't have this specific directory on their radar. Okay, so how do you know if a TV commercial or a billboard is working? I'm going to tell you, here's how you get that information. So think about this, and I bet you know the answer if you really think about it. I'm going to walk you through. So when you are driving by on your highway in your town and you see billboards, you're not really looking for whatever the billboard's advertising, but it's kind of in your mind's eye, right? It's in the background or whatnot. Maybe by the time you're ready to call that dentist or call that mechanic or whatever billboard that you saw, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Google, right? You're going to go to some search engine and you're going to say, what was that lawyer? Something justice, right? And you're going to type in justice. What was that, post that I saw on social media? Something, my bald lawyer, right? You're going to start to see what I call branded searches. And you can run in Google Analytics, not you personally, please delegate this, you drive yourself crazy. You can run a Google Analytics search query report, and it'll give you from your website the branded searches and information on branded searches, really searches in general that are driving traffic to your site. If you're making a significant investment in traditional media like billboards, TV, radio, this is a good way to understand that, I added a tracking number to my TV commercial, nobody called that number, my ads must not be working. No, if you see branded searches that are related to the messaging and the creative ads, then that's an indicator that they could be working and they're helping with the conversions on those digital channels. And that's one way to do it. You can also find some of this data in Google Analytics as well. So phrases that people use are going to offer insights also into how they think about your area of the law in general. So in this example, we've got a search where it's uncontested divorce, no kids. And by the way, there's typos. That's not me. People search with typos. And I know that drives lawyers crazy. I once had a lawyer get upset because a marketing company was using keywords that had typos in them, but we're like, no, that's on purpose. Like, that's how people are searching. So, and it was actually getting a really good cost per case for some of that traffic that those words got. So, just keep an open mind, okay? What gets measured gets better. And I really want to encourage you to have standard operating procedures for marketing. And this is my little bullet list of the most important ones. You want to have review and approval processes for marketing assets so that you have consistency in your messaging. Because remember, if you run that query report and you know what language people are using to search for what you do, then you want to have that documented so all of your marketing team, and a lot of law firms use like a hodgepodge, right? They have virtual assistants, they have 3 agencies. You want to give that documentation to your team so that they have standardized ways to get the review and approval for all of your things. Lead management per marketing channel. So I gave you that scenario before. I once had a campaign that I was leading, and the law firm essentially had 30 leads sitting in an inbox because nobody knew that those leads were being forwarded to a specific email. You don't want that to happen. You want to have it documented, and you want to have lead tracking per marketing channel SOP. How are you going to track leads? Who's going to be responsible for responding to the messages, the phone, and a lead qualification guide. You want your team to know what's a qualified lead. And I know it sounds very basic, but I can't tell you how many times we've done a marketing and sales audit and have found that the receptionist or the intake people are turning away valuable cases that cost us a lot of money to get through the door. You also want to have some recommended tools in your arsenal, digital dashboards like Google Analytics, call tracking and recording systems. CallRail is a popular one. Some sort of marketing CRM so that you can track and follow up with leads with automation, text messages, emails, and then obviously Clio Manage can help you with lead management and insight so that you know how many leads came in, from what channel, what was wanted, and then what was signed up, what was turned down. And that's pretty much it. So I think we have a couple of minutes for questions. And if you have questions that you want to ask, you can just scan that and get in touch with me. But I want to open it up for questions. And remember, you got to have a mic so that people can hear you. Great. Thank you.
Burton Kelso from Kansas City. My question is how do you get, with Google reviews, how do you overcome the problem that most people, if you leave a Google review, you have to have a Gmail account or a Google account? How do you overcome that problem so that you can get your customer base to sign up and give reviews for your law firm?
You want to encourage people to just set up an account. It's absolutely free, and really it's all in how you ask. If you encourage people to leave you a Google review when they're super excited and thankful, they're going to be a lot more likely to say yes and not give you pushback. But if you're asking people when they're already kind of out the door, sometimes I find that that's really the reason for the pushback, and the, oh, I don't have an account is kind of an excuse and a brush off. So I would really try to connect with the person to see if it's that they're really just kind of giving you an excuse, maybe it's a timing thing, and then try again.
That's nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Question, once you have calculated your marketing cost, what's a good return on investment for a marketing campaign?
That's a great question. So it's going to depend by practice area. I wish I could give you a blanket answer, but I feel like that would be irresponsible. But here's how you can think about it. If you have low brand recognition, meaning you're not well known, you're going to have to expect to invest a little bit more upfront with less ROI in the beginning, because people need to know you and see you a lot more often. If you've been branding for a while, you're going to expect that to go down. I think it's very reasonable for digital to have a very good ROI like right away, or at least break even, but it does really take time, and frequency is so important. Not just brand recognition, but frequency. And if your marketing assets are visually appealing to your target avatar, you have things like video, high-end photography in your marketing assets, that's also going to help. Like, a lot of people think that it's just about the functionality, but it really is about what are you willing to invest up front so that the look and feel is on point, looks high-end, attracts ideal customers. That's going to help it go faster for you. Next question. I'll repeat your question. So if I can go a little bit,
more detail about how you can track whether TV, radio, billboard ads are actually going through on a website search. Like, how would you know that?
Yeah.
If you're using a phrase in your ad, and maybe they're searching that or something else.
I love that question, and I'll even throw in some ideas of how to get people to do creative things so you can build your database. So step number one is, for traditional media, you want to, unless you have like a vanity number or something that you have to use, you want to use unique phone numbers, okay? Because anything that's captured passively, and I know this because I did a lot of auditing at Nielsen, which is where I spent a lot of time. Anytime you have a passive way to collect data on what the source is, it's going to be more accurate, okay? People forget or they lie or whatever, right? So number one, tracking phone numbers for all your traditional media. That's the easiest way. And you'll see, oh, 3 phone calls came in from the phone number that I use for my billboards. So that's an easy way to know. The other way is branded searches. You want to go into Google Analytics, you want to go into Google My Business, and look to see what are the keywords that people are searching for that are driving them to those places, because then you can safely assume that the only way they would really know about you is through that traditional media. And if you look at the timing, so I have a client in Miami that launched a radio campaign a specific month, and we did an analysis of branded searches before that month and an analysis of 3 months after, and we saw the branded searches went up. So we could tell based on that analysis that the radio campaign was getting traction because more people were searching for the law firm by name or with words used in the commercial.
Yep, can I just speak into it? Great.
Sure.
So in your opinion, for advertising, what platform, medium, channel do you recommend that will give you like the best ROI or bang for your buck for like maybe a conservative, semi-conservative budget?
Yeah. So I will point out something that It's not you guys' fault. You get bombarded all the time. Do these 3 things and your law firm's gonna explode with your marketing. So the question was about what's the one thing, right? Like what's gonna give you the best ROI? The responsible answer is you right now probably have a skill, a competitive advantage that is gonna work really well on one media channel. And if I told you to do something else, that would be irresponsible, okay? So I want you to think about what is your competitive advantage? Maybe you're really good in front of the camera, then your ROI is gonna be best on anything that involves making content, right? So just think about that, okay? But then I'm gonna go back and answer it the other way. In general, the quickest way to get the phone to ring is to run ads. Because if people need what you do, and they need it now, where they go is to Google, and they do a search, and whoever pops up, that's who they call. Unless, okay, like I mentioned in my competitive advantage scenario, unless they've already connected with you specifically and your brand in another channel. I have a client that exploded with billboards with the word justice. That worked for him. I wouldn't have recommended it for anybody else unless we had I only recommended it because we had that message, we had that campaign, and that was a competitive advantage. We had this creative campaign concept that just worked, okay? So I want to encourage you to think outside the box, but I do want to clarify that 9 times out of 10, and I made that statistic up just now, it's going to be the digital stuff because it's very low cost, and the phone is going to ring. If you have a vendor partner that's helping you run ads that knows what they're doing, the phone is going to ring. And if you've got a good sales system, then you can sign up those cases. So it's going to be Google. Google is the platform with the highest intent, okay? Yeah. And I think that's all she wrote. Thanks, guys.